The former president writing on the platform, quote, "The judge in the AG case fraudulently undervalued Mar-a-Lago at $18 million in order to create his fake narrative. He is grossly incompetent and corrupt. I should have zero fine," end quote.
Mr. Trump, on the appeals court ruling. Any comment on that?
Thank you very much. Judge Engoron has done a terrible disservice to the state of New York. What he's done is terrible. Businesses are fleeing, and you see that. We just released a statement on Truth. Businesses are fleeing, and crime is flourishing all over the state, and what he's done is such a disservice and should never be allowed to happen again. New York State is being battered by his decision. So I greatly respect the decision of the appellate division, and I'll post either $175 million in cash or bonds or security or whatever is necessary very quickly within the 10 days. And I thank the appellate division for acting quickly. But Judge Engoron is a disgrace to this country, and this should not be allowed to happen. Thank you very much.
This is the 5th time in this case that he has been overturned, a record. His credibility and that of Letitia James has been shattered. We will abide by the decision of the appellate division and post either a bond, equivalent securities, or cash. This also shows how ridiculous and outrageous Engoron's original decision was at $450 million. I did nothing wrong. And New York should never be put in a position like this again. So that was Truth Social.
It is my belief that all people should be treated equally under the law. I actually think that there is risk in not seizing these assets and the open window that exists in him trying to secure these funds through other means. We've seen a lot of interesting transactions happening with Truth Social and other means, and there's a very real risk of political corruption. That is not about being a Republican. It is not about being a Democrat. It's about being an unethical and individual who is subject and prone to criminality. And unfortunately, this is the state that we're in.
The Democrats wanted to be the ones on top. Letitia James, the Attorney General, who said she wanted to get Trump, her office has responded to the reduced bond. And here's the quote. Donald Trump is still facing accountability for his staggering fraud. The court has already found that he engaged in years of fraud to falsely inflate his net worth and unjustly enrich himself, his family, and his organization. The $464 million judgment, plus interest against Donald Trump and the other defendants, still stands.
What do we see in each of these unprecedented cases? They continue to be overturned either in whole or in part. The Supreme Court with the Maine ballot case, the Supreme Court Colorado ballot case, now you have this judgment being reduced. I agree with Jonathan Turley, it should be zero, but nevertheless being reduced. You go down to Georgia, Fani Willis, the RICO charges being thrown out. You see constant overreach. And I encourage viewers, ask yourself, why? Why do you see constant overreach? The only answer you can get to is these are partisan left-wing actors in the form of Letitia James and Alvin Bragg, and the list goes on.
Let's hear from Brett Tolman. He is the former federal prosecutor. He says the Trump case is a miscarriage of justice. Give a listen.
Anytime someone with power, a prosecutor, a DA, anyone with power that can enforce the laws of this country, when they stop caring about the actual case at hand and they care more about making it difficult for an individual that they don't like, then we've lost the interest of fairness in the administration of justice.
And then all of a sudden you're galvanizing even the most skeptical people who maybe have voted and supported President Trump previously, have gotten tired of all the drama, and they say, wait a second, this is about the rule of law. This is about laws being applied fairly and then the punishment fitting the crime. So I wanted to know how unprecedented was this money? Was this amount of money that he was expected to pay? Bitcoin fraudster Sam Bankman-Fried's bail was $250 million. Wow. Notorious Ponzi schemer Bernie Madoff's bail was initially set for $10 million. And these were people who had victims in their crimes.
Yeah.
So we know that this is because he's running for president, Donald Trump's running for president, and it really signals that as long as you don't go after the Democratic machine, you're not going to have a huge...
You've got Letitia James, Attorney General of New York, you would say, arguably, with some things to lose. She's out there, Gavin. I mean, gonna get Trump. I mean, who does that? That's so low class, but you know what it is? It's not fair. It's not fair in our legal and justice system to behave that way.
It's a really good point. It's not fair, but Letitia James is playing to her audience, right? You have a left-wing political base in New York City, and they love. I mean, she won on the fact that she promised to go after Donald Trump, right? That was the political message, and she
but she's still talking.
But she delivered on that promise, and I think New Yorkers still love it, right? But to the point of the $175 million, again, Donald Trump, that's a win for him. It's still a massive amount of money. What they've done is they've preserved Donald Trump's right to appeal by lowering the bond to a number that he can actually meet. But what they're really doing here is they're preserving the Democrat Party. Because if Letitia James was out seizing Donald Trump's properties, it's over for Democrats. I think most Americans see the war that's been waged on Donald Trump, whether it's in Georgia or in New York or in Florida, in Washington, D.C., they look at this and go, to Kelly's point, this is way too much. Who does this to the lead presidential candidate? And by the way, of charges we've never seen, victims that aren't there. What the hell are you doing?
But the $175 million bond doesn't absolve them from being that hungry, that thirsty.
No,
it doesn't wipe it away.
No, it doesn't. But I think what it does, the war on Trump is just clouded a little bit, right? Because he's going to be able to meet the bond, and he's going to be able to appeal, and it's going to forestall the inevitable, which, again, it's going to be a massive payout that Donald Trump is going to have to make in a city that's more about politics than business.